September 1942, above the North African desert, Leutnant Hans Joachim Marseille, known to his squadron as Jochen, eased his Messerschmitt Bf 109G2 into a shallow dive. Its Daimler Benz DB 605 engine thundered with 475 horsepower, a snarling beast as he scanned the desolate yellow expanse below through his armored windscreen. British Hurricanes were climbing desperately toward a formation of German Junkers U-87 Stukas, unaware that one of the deadliest fighter pilots in the world was already positioning himself high above them. What the British pilots didn't know was that the impeccably dressed, jazz-loving young man from Berlin, now tracking them through his Revi gunsight, had already destroyed well over 100 enemy aircraft in aerial combat. By the end of his short, meteoric career, he would achieve 158 confirmed victories, an astonishing majority against the British Desert Air Force, often achieving kill rates that defied rational probability and earned him the nickname, the Ghost. This is the story of how a charming, rebellious young pilot from a privileged background became the star of Africa. How a pilot who was nearly thrown out of the Luftwaffe for insubordination transformed into a deadly, lone wolf precision instrument of aerial warfare. And how the combination of supreme natural talent, a groundbreaking new tactic, and the lethal Messerschmitt Bf 109 created a legend under the merciless sun of the Sahara. The path to his incredible tally began not with immediate success, but with the arrogant swagger and disciplinary problems of a privileged youth in Europe. On the Channel front in the Battle of Britain, a young Oberfähnrich Marseille had a rude awakening. Flying with Lehrgeschwader 2, LG2, he quickly scored a few initial victories but also crashed or damaged 7 aircraft due to aggressive flying, running out of fuel, or engine failure, sometimes after unauthorized maneuvers. Reports indicate he often returned to base late, pursued unauthorized activities, and possessed a flippant disregard for military protocol, once even being confined to quarters for bringing women back to the base. His commanding officer, Major Herbert Ihlefeld, eventually reached his limit. The reprimand was immediate and severe. Marseille was nearly court-martialed and was ultimately exiled from the civilized comforts of Europe, transferred in early 1941 to Impeccably Geschwader 27, JG-27, in the brutal, unforgiving crucible of North Africa. This punitive assignment, however, was the making of him. What his early commanders missed, but what his new comrades would soon recognize, was that Marseille possessed qualities that separated good pilots from suicidal ones. He had supernatural vision, the ability to spot a speck of an enemy aircraft miles away in the heat haze before anyone else. He had exceptional aircraft control, the ability to fly his powerful Bf 109 at the absolute limit of its envelope, and an almost impossible composure under stress. These were the skills of a master gunner, and the desert, with its endless blue skies and brilliant light, became his perfect, unforgiving stage. By April 1941, Marseille was flying his first combat missions over Libya. Bf 109Es from JG-27 climbed to intercept British formations, often Hawker Hurricanes or Curtiss P-40 Tomahawks. The early engagements were frustrating for the Germans. British pilots were highly skilled veterans, and the combat was grueling. The Bf 109, with its superior speed and altitude performance, was a powerful machine. Its centerline mounted 20mm cannon and machine guns delivered concentrated firepower. But the aircraft's maneuverability at low speeds was sometimes contested by the sturdy Hurricane. Pilots who attempted to engage the British in a close, turning dogfight often found themselves in trouble. Marseille didn't try to dogfight. He invented an entirely new way to kill. His early kills came as he refined what became known as his attack and run, or curve of pursuit tactic, a unique method that used the Bf 109's advantages, superior speed, climb rate, and a new deadly accuracy. Instead of the classic Luftwaffe one-pass attack or the standard turning fight, Marseille would execute a high-G, high-speed dive from an altitude advantage, aiming not at the tail, but at a point of interception calculated for a deadly, momentary burst of deflection shooting. He would then immediately zoom back up to altitude, using his speed to disengage and positioning himself for the next attack, often against a different aircraft in the formation, shattering the enemy's defensive concentration. His combat reports were brief, almost unbelievably sparse, noting altitude, engagement conditions, and a stark outcome. Abacus shot down. What became clear during his early desert missions was his almost spiritual understanding of his aircraft and his weapon. The nose-mounted cannon and machine guns created a single, terrifying stream of concentrated destruction. When an enemy was caught in this stream, the impact was catastrophic. He could destroy an aircraft with a burst of 15 rounds or less, sometimes firing for less than a second. Over the next year, he would refine this philosophy into a system of relentless, almost effortless efficiency. The key to Marseille's success was his unparalleled deflection shooting. Deflection shooting is the ability to calculate where a moving target will be when your bullets arrive, not where it is when fired, a complex three-dimensional calculation that most pilots struggle with. Marseille made these calculations instinctively, smoothly moving his controls in a complex curve that allowed him to get a perfect firing solution at a constantly changing angle, often from a position inside the enemy's turn. He practiced this relentlessly, spending hours firing at targets on the ground until his coordination was flawless. By early 1942, his victory count began climbing with alarming speed. Other pilots fired long, wild bursts, emptying their ammo trays for a single kill. Marseille fired short, devastating, precise bursts. His gun camera footage, when examined by technical experts, showed consistent patterns, a brief, clean pass, a rapid impact on the enemy cockpit or wing route, and an immediate disengagement. Major Edouard Neumann, his Gruppenkommandeur, described Marseille's technique as surgical and fearless. He would deliberately close to point-blank range, eliminating the chance for error, sometimes flying so close during the attack that oil from the exploding enemy aircraft spattered his own canopy, forcing him to wipe the glass clear with his glove to maintain visibility. June 1942 above Bir Hakeim, Libya. Marseille's victory count was now above 50, and he was a marked man. His yellow-nosed Bf 109, christened the Yellow 14, was instantly recognizable to the British. His Staffel squadron was tasked with covering a critical ground attack operation. On the 3rd of June, in 3 separate sorties, Marseille attacked British formations with almost inhuman precision, resulting in 6 confirmed victories. The next day, on the 6th of June, he repeated the feat, shooting down 6 more, and on the 17th of June, the British Desert Air Force suffered one of its worst single-day losses. Marseille, operating alone or with a single wingman, achieved 10 confirmed victories in less than 20 minutes across 3 sorties, completely dismantling an entire attacking formation. The sheer statistical anomaly of his success rate had the British calling him the pilot who couldn't be shot down, leading the RAF to circulate detailed profiles of the lone German ace who was tearing their formations apart. Marseille's approach emphasized several core principles: verticality over horizontal turning, maintain energy advantage through altitude, speed for engagement and disengagement, exploit the Bf 109's cannon concentration, and avoid the turning fight at all costs, especially with the P-40s and Spitfires he would soon face. His signature move, the high-speed, high-deflection attack, required extraordinary nerve and timing. Engagement windows were often less than 1 second. Most pilots broke off early. Marseille's willingness to maintain the attack run, adjusting his aim with minute, instantaneous control inputs, gave him a consistent, devastating advantage. Want to dive deeper into the tactics and stories of World War II's most incredible aerial aces? From the high-G maneuvers of the Luftwaffe's top guns to the groundbreaking jet technology that changed air combat forever, we explore the history and technology behind the legends. If you're captivated by these untold stories of skill, daring, and engineering, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive documentary. His highest scoring day remains one of the most astonishing feats in aviation history, September 1st, 1942, above Alam el Halfa. The Germans were desperately trying to contain the British offensive. Marseille, leading his flight, climbed to intercept a massive formation of British fighters. That morning, in the first sortie alone, he shot down 4 Hurricanes. After refueling and rearming, he took off again and intercepted another formation. destroying 2 more P-40s. The afternoon brought the most incredible sortie. Between 1751 and 1753, in a span of 11 minutes, Marseille shot down 10 British aircraft, an unheard-of rate of destruction, bringing his daily total to an unbelievable 17 confirmed victories in a single day. The British pilots simply could not comprehend what was happening, reporting fighters appearing from nowhere, delivering devastating bursts, and vanishing back into the sun and altitude before defensive calls could even be organized. Marseille's attacks were so rapid, so precise, and so unpredictable that they could not form a cohesive defense. His deflection shots hit critical areas, cockpit, engine, wing root, with such consistency that the aircraft often exploded in midair. By this point, Marseille had achieved 126 victories, all against Western Allied forces, and was immediately promoted to Oberleutnant and awarded the Knight's Cross with oak leaves, swords, and diamonds, Germany's highest military decoration, making him the youngest captain in the Luftwaffe. He was flown back to Germany as a national hero, meeting Hitler and Goebbels, but he despised the political spotlight and quickly requested to return to his men in the desert, finding true satisfaction only in the cockpit. He was now flying the upgraded Bf 109 G2, with improved engine power and better high-altitude performance, and he was unstoppable. He reached his 150th victory by the end of September 1942. The British Desert Air Force, constantly analyzing combat reports, identified Jochen as the single biggest threat. They acknowledged facing an opponent whose skill and tactical discipline were impossible to counter with conventional dogfighting. They were fighting a marksman, not a typical pilot. The numbers tell only part of the story. The real measure of Marseille's impact wasn't just the 158 aircraft he destroyed. It was the demoralization he caused in the British ranks and the air superiority he temporarily gifted to Rommel's forces, protecting crucial supply lines and ground troops just as the tide of the war was turning against the Axis. His techniques, the single high deflection pass, the immediate disengagement, the relentless use of vertical speed were incorporated into Luftwaffe training. New pilots studied his gun camera footage, mesmerized by his accuracy. September 30th, 1942, above the Egyptian desert, Marseille was leading his Staffel on a routine escort mission. His victory count stood at 158. During the flight near the German lines, smoke began pouring from the cockpit of his Bf 109 G2. A major oil leak had sealed his canopy in thick smoke, blinding him and filling the cockpit with fumes. He tried to follow his wingman to the German lines, but the smoke thickened and the pilot's oxygen system began to fail, leaving him gasping for clean air. At 11:35 a.m., over a stretch of empty desert, Marseille inverted his aircraft and bailed out. His body was found moments later, far from the wreckage of the fighter. The powerful diving speed of the Messerschmitt had resulted in the pilot hitting the aircraft's vertical stabilizer after bailing out, a catastrophic impact that killed him instantly. He was 22 years old. The German forces buried him with full military honors in the desert, his grave marked by a pile of stones and the words, "He was untainted, handsome, happy-go-lucky, and a marvelous pilot. May he rest in peace." The very next month, the decisive Second Battle of El Alamein began. The air superiority Marseille had so brilliantly maintained vanished almost instantly upon his death, contributing directly to the Desert Fox's defeat. The loss of the Star of Africa was a blow the Luftwaffe in the desert never recovered from. The young man who faced disciplinary issues early in his career became a legend by mastering the fundamentals of aerial gunnery, precision, speed, and deflection. He didn't rely on brute force, he relied on calculated positioning and flawless execution. Every engagement was a brief, violent demonstration of pure surgical skill. Every kill resulted from perfect timing and accurate fire. His record of 158 victories, the vast majority against the elite pilots of the British and Commonwealth forces, remains a testament to what a single pilot could achieve through technical mastery and a groundbreaking, impossible tactic. The numbers speak for themselves. The well-bred, rebellious Berliner who destroyed dozens of British planes in single missions, sometimes reaching 17 in a single day, stands as the most successful fighter pilot against the Western Allies in World War II.